brooding, dangerous, but basically good hero of a lot of urban fantasy, and writes some stuff from his point of view too. So, you know, like his girlfriend has just walked out on him. She's been abducted by his evil twin, and you know, he hits the brandy real hard.
Does she have cleavage? Just want to know.
The evil twin does.
Oh. There you go. Okay, what is your favorite aspect of your main protagonist's character personality? What do you like the most about him? We'll start with you.
I like the way she stops the action to explain how Bouguereau's painting style, you know, what its origins were, how it relates to the rest of the 19th century academic art. You know, if you're a specialist in something you're really interested in, people are going to stop and talk about it. Even if the creatures in the mind are only being held up by the simple light.
One of the things I got sick of about writing epic fantasy was that I had fallen back in my first series on this really, really typical protagonist. Young guy, really nice, who finds out he's a powerful wizard. Who knew? And it's like, oh my God, did I really do that? And I did for 3 books. And what I like about Ethan, who's the lead character in the Thief Taker series, is that he's old for a fantasy hero. Late 30s, early 40s. And I know that's not old, but for a fantasy series, that's a fairly old male protagonist. And he's broken. He's been a prisoner. He's half crippled. Emotionally, he's been a prisoner for 15 years, and so he lost everything. He's trying to rebuild his life. What I like about him is he's someone who you discover in media res. He's a person well into his life who's trying to salvage some bit of himself as he slips into the world. Kind of like me.
For the Deacon Chalk series, I specifically made Deacon like he said, a very broken character. I mean, he has a huge thing that he suffered. He goes through a lot that create the man that you meet in book 1. And he's been 5 years hunting monsters at this point, inspired by the fact that he wants to die, but he's Catholic and can't kill himself. So he's got a few conflicted issues. But the main thing that I like about him is that Deacon is an alpha male, and what comes along with that is not the female perspective you get that makes it kind of sexy with the, you know, buttons undone on the shirt. You get a dude that's bullheaded, he's stubborn, he gets by mostly on balls and the fact that he's willing to do what other people aren't. But he doesn't really overly think his way through anything. So that's my favorite part of Deacon. It gets him in a lot of trouble, but it makes for good story writing.
My favorite part of the Sam Hunter characters, right now only in a series of short stories, will eventually be in a novel. He's a werewolf, and I love werewolf stories. But I chose a particular bit of werewolf folklore for him. There's a legend of something called the Ben and Danzig. They're werewolf families. They claim, this is actually part of belief systems in Livonia, Italy, Germany, and a few other places, where the families claimed that going back to Etruscan times, they at night turned into werewolves and fight evil. During the Inquisition, there was a guy named Tice who was actually put on trial by the Inquisition and tortured. They wanted to get him to admit that a werewolf could only be the servant of hell, and they couldn't break the guy. And there was a very short list of people the Inquisition couldn't break, and they let him go. They actually let him go, and with the they gave him kind of a nickname, the Hound of God. And so I based this on that bit of legend, where he is a descendant of these werewolf families, and when he takes a client on, they essentially become part of his pack. And he will do anything to protect his pack member, even if the client isn't aware of what he is. So it allows him to go to some pretty extreme reactions. He's not afraid of wolfing out on the guy. And it's fun because normally he's normal, he's human, the damaged PI type of personality, but he has that werewolf. So I love writing that part of his character where he explores. He actually is friends with his light side because he, and day-to-day basis is the dark side of his personality. The werewolf is the well-balanced part of his personality. So, at need, that part comes out and solves the problem that his other part can't solve.
When the werewolf is the voice of reason, you got problems. Both of my main protagonists, Bubba and Jimmy Black in the Black Knight Chronicles. One of the things I really like about them is the fact that they are very, very subtle. I grew up reading a lot of Pat Conroy and a lot of other Southern literary fiction. And there's a lot, and you might be able to hear a twinge of it, but I grew up in the rural South myself. Oh, boy. Y'all ain't from around here. Yeah, you are. Redneck. And if you know the difference, y'all's from around here too. Robert Penmore once said that Southern men like to drink whiskey, fornicate, and tell stories. Not necessarily in that order. But there's a lot that goes along with being Southern. And there's some self-deprecation, there's a lot of, hey y'all, watch this. Hey man, that looked like it hurt. There's a lot of that going on with all of the characters, and I enjoy writing some people that don't live in LA or New York or Chicago. Don't live in the major metropolitan areas. One of my guys lives in Charlotte and the other one lives in bumfuck, Georgia. So, yeah, it's about an hour from here.
Good direction.
Around the corner from Tug's house.
Just over the creek from that slum.
So that's it. I really enjoy the very southernness of my guys, because them's my people.
When I was a kid in school, I had the bad grace to be the smallest kid in class and the smartest kid in class. And it's just possible I might have had a mouth on me too. And I got beat up a lot. And when I say beat up a lot, I mean like I would count it in times per month of getting beat up. I know there's some people that had it worse, but I didn't know anybody around me that had it worse. So I got to be very good at being nimble and quick and getting out of the way of bullies before they could find me and catch up to me. But when they did catch up to me, I worked out that it was always better to keep your mouth shut because if you made a mouth, they just hit you more. Harry Dresden he never learned that lesson. One of the things I really like about Harry is that no matter how bad or how dire the situation is, no matter how much he's going to make it worse if he lips off, it's got to be said. That's just how it goes. I think that's probably what I enjoy most about writing Harry.
My guy, Dan Shamble, he's written in first person, so I get to basically pretend to be me. And this guy he's full of himself and clueless and doesn't realize either. And so I get to write him like that. And this is a world where there are the zombies and werewolves and ghosts and everything. But he's a well-preserved zombie. He takes care of himself. He has no patience whatsoever for those smelly, necrotic shamblers jonesing for brains all the time. Because, damn it, they should be more respectable. They should take care of themselves. He goes to the gym, the all-day, all-night fitness center, to keep himself limber and loose all the time, so he shambles on the treadmill. And in the gym, there's a wall, there's treadmills on either wall. There's one wall that has the mirror in front of him for people like him or monsters like him, and there's the other wall that just has plywood and a set of mirrors for the vampires to be shambling on. And he brushes his teeth, he uses deodorant, and he just does not want people to look at him differently. But he's kind of fooled himself. He's been told he's rather handsome. And in fact, we know that Nathan Fillion will play him in the TV show. He knows that Nathan Fillion will play him. But one of the real fun that I have with this series is it's kind of a meta fiction thing, because there is a publishing house in my universe where they have hired a ghostwriter, actually a vampire, to write the stories of Dan Shamble's Zombie PI. And on my very first novel, I got a cover quote from Charlaine Harris. By book 3 in my series, the publishing house is publishing the book called Death Warmed Over, which is the first volume of his adventures. And with Charlaine Harris's permission, in volume 3, the publishers are thrilled because they just got a quote from Charlaine Harris. And I have fun with that.
Considering the size of this crowd, I think I will begin taking questions from the audience at this point. So if you have any questions you'd like to ask of the panel, please raise your hand and I will point at you.
So only clues, Mr. Anderson, only going to need to write to make sure I get more.
4 books. 4 books so far.
Reviews, what more can I do?
I'm just on number 4. That doesn't mean I'm stopping.
Okay, I'm the one. What's my space? I'll be loud enough for you to hear me. How about that? Jim, you have some adorable characters on Twitter. How did you come up with the idea to have Harry and everybody actually interact in a virtual world? So those of us who really want to hang out with them, I mean, was that just sort of spontaneous?
For those in the back, how did I come up with all the questions, with all the characters that are on Twitter, and so that they can hang out and interact with people in kind of a virtual way? And the answer to that is, I didn't come up with them at all. That was you guys that came up with them, and they just said, "Jim, can we play this?" And I said, "Yeah, that's the point. Have fun." So yeah, it's a bunch of fans who play all the various Dresden Files characters on Twitter. That's not me at all. Well, I do play one of them, but he doesn't show up very often. So you know, and I'll let you guys guess which one.
What was the question?
He wants to know who is their favorite character to write from each of their series.
Oh, I think it's my hero's grizzled mentor from the Texas Hill Country. It makes a nice contrast when he suddenly starts cooking Parisian.
My favorite character is Ethan's nemesis, who shows up book in and book out, Sapphira Price. Sapphira is modeled after Jonathan Wild, who was a thief taker in London in the early 1700s, who became a thief taker by hiring people to steal stuff on his behalf, and he would sell what he recovered that was most valuable, and then he'd return the rest for a finder's fee. And people in London thought he was brilliant because he could solve any crime. And he built an empire for himself. He became very wealthy, very powerful, and built a huge empire for himself and enjoyed a long and illustrious career and was hanged at the age of 26. And reading about him, Jonathan Wild, was what made me want to write Thief Taker. It wasn't my hero who I clued into, it was the nemesis character. I thought, I want to make this person the nemesis of my honest thief taker hero. And then I turned him into a her and made her beautiful and cruel and capricious and everything you want in a villain. And so there's always a villain who's committed the murder in whichever book you read, but then there's always Saphira. And their interaction is hostile, but with an undertone of sexual tension, and it's just so much fun.
As much as the fan favorite seems to be Charlotte the Werespider, my favorite character is Father Mulcahy, the chain-smoking, whiskey-swilling, shotgun-toting Catholic priest, who is, he's Deacon's dude man. He's the one that goes, "Are you fucking serious? That is a shit plan. We should rethink this."
That is exactly what he says, yeah.
With a cigarette hanging out of his mouth the whole time.
My favorite is Joe Ledger. He's in my series of Joe Ledger thrillers, but I keep throwing him in other things. I had him show up in the post-apocalyptic series, 15 years older, or 30 years older than he was in the ongoing Joe Ledger series. Somebody asked me to do a Cthulhu story, so I threw him into that. He's a psychologically fractured special ops fighter and professional smartass. And there's no situation you can't throw that guy into. And I just love putting him in all different situations. I'm doing a story for Limbus 2, another anthology, where he and my Sam Hunter character and Malcolm Crowe from my Pine Neat novels, it's called Three Guys Walk Into a Bar. It starts with those three guys who are all smart-ass, damaged characters converging in the same story. I just love writing the Joe Ledger characters. I actually never know what he's going to say, which is kind of weird.
High on my list would have to be Skeeter. Skeeter is Bubba's 165-pound African-American homosexual technological wizard, and Bubba's best friend since 6th grade when Bubba saw them trying to run Skeeter's underpants up the flagpole at middle school while Skeeter was still wearing them. Bubba kept Skeeter from getting killed in middle school, and Skeeter kept Bubba from flunking math. So yeah, it's probably Skeeter, because he again is Bubba's dude man. He's like, "Dude, are you really just gonna go shoot everything?" Nope, just everything that moves.
I think for me, my favorite is still got to be Harry Dresden's one-time his personal assistant, Bob the Skull. He's just pretty much my inner prurient 15-year-old unleashed. All the things you grow up and learn not to say, Bob never learned not to say them. That's kind of where I have my most fun.
See, for me, I made my entire career writing these gigantic, like Dune, epic, serious science fiction novels and Star Wars novels, and these big, fat, epic fantasies and things like what Dave was saying. And sometimes I just want to have fun, and I just have a ball where I write these books in like 3 weeks, and then I edit them and polish them. And yes, my main characters are fun because I spend all the time with them, but I just throw in everything but the kitchen sink with quirky oddball characters that might be there for like a couple of chapters doing a little part of a case or little scenes, and the crazier the better. The funniest stuff that I can come up with, I think, is really fun. Like we had, just as a little throwaway thing in one of my, in book 2, we have a vampire piano player in a lounge who loves to wear sequins and feathers and everything. And finally somebody says, "Why do you always wear that?" He says, "Because I think it's okay for vampires to